kind of a jerky deal did you get us into? We just want to know how sweet the stuff is.
Hey, man. We gotta take certain precautions when you're dealing with professionals. Manny, what are you doing? When did they shine the light in Steve McQueen's face? Do you remember that part in the movie? Why did I rent the cassette tape?
Everything's cool, Senor Crown. Just bring the sample.
I think you guys are gonna close down every coke distributor south of Atlanta. This is guaranteed, man. This hasn't been stepped on, man. 100% pure.
Sure is hot in here.
Freeze! Miami Vice! Don't move! Put your hands on your head!
Perp, what'd you get us into? I want to see our attorneys. Shut up.
Hey, my end's done, huh?
Not until the trial, pal.
Would not miss it for the world. Miami Vice cracks down on illegal soft drinks.
What?
Look, it was a bum tip. I just found out. Artificial sweetener, Jack. These guys don't run drugs. They run supermarkets. And they're just about to get into the diet soda business.
Who the hell would rip off a trainload of artificial sweetener?
Said his name was Crown. But his sidekick called him Izzy.
Freeze! Miami Vice!
Crockett,
Tubbs,
Castillo,
Gina and Trudy.
Zito and Switek.
Together, they are the OCB. They are Miami Vice. And this is the Vice of Miami podcast.
Do you remember the fast cars, flashy clothes, big money, and all of the heavy players on the 1980s most iconic TV show Miami Vice? Then this is the podcast for you.
Join Mark and Tim as we review each season and episode, covering all of the details such as a storyline, stars, music, fun facts and locations, and as well as trivia in which you can participate. Get ready for the Vice of Miami podcast. Welcome back, Vice fans, to the Vice of Miami podcast for show number 34. Tim and I are always glad that you're joining us. We hope you enjoyed our last show covering Bushido. So as always, sit back, relax, grab a beverage, and enjoy the best Miami Vice review show, the Vice of Miami podcast. We're covering Season 2, Episode 9 today, Bought and Paid For. Tim?
And Mark, this episode was written by Martin Kupfer, directed by John Nicolella. The original air date was November 29th, 1985, and it was the 31st episode overall in the series.
The summary for this episode is Gina's cleaning woman gets raped in Gina's home by the spoiled son of a wealthy man who thinks he's above the law. Despite evidence being circumstantial, Gina wants to have the man arrested. And on a side note, Izzy steals Switek and Zito's Bugbuster van.
Mark, now it's time for the guest stars and co-stars of this episode. First up, we have Lynn Whitfield as Odette Ribaud, born May 6, 1953 in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. As Lynn Butler, she is an American actress. After performing in numerous black plays including For Colored Girls Who Have Considered Suicide, When the Rainbow Is Enough, she made her TV debut on a few episodes of Hill Street Blues. In 1983, she made her movie debut in Dr. Detroit. Other movies are Silverado, Slugger's Wife, Stepmom, Kings of the Evening, among many others. Her TV lineup includes Cagney and Lacey, Mike Hammer, Josephine Baker's Story, Boston Legal, 6 episodes of Cold Case. She married Vantile Whitfield, an artistic director, in 1974 and later divorced in 1976, after which she dated Don Johnson briefly. She then married Brian Gibson, a producer, writer, and director, in 1990, then divorced in 1992, and they have one daughter together.
And next up, we have returning Martin Ferrero as Isidore Izzy Moreno, an American gigolo.
Our next guest star is Joaquim del Almeida as Nico Arroyo, also referred to as Nick in the episode. He was born March 15th, 1957 in Lisbon, Portugal. He is a Portuguese actor. He moved to New York City in 1975 to attend the Actors Studio. He has appeared in many foreign films, but he has made his American film debut in 1982's The Soldier. Other movie roles were in The Sun and the Moon, Sandino, Clear and Present Danger, Desperado. TV work includes Dollar for Dead, Kingpin, 24, CSI Miami, and his latest appearance in 2018, Elementary. He has 2 children with his partner Maria Risquez Pereira. He was awarded a Knighthood of the Order of Prince Henry in 1992 for his contribution to the arts. Almeida is fluent in 6 languages. Portuguese, his mother tongue, English, French, Italian, Spanish, and German. In 2005, he became a naturalized citizen.
And next up, we have El DeBarge as the club singer. Born June 4th, 1961 in Grand Rapids, Michigan, he's the 6th of 10 DeBarge family members. 5 of those family members started the group DeBarge in the late 70s. Motown record label head Barry Gordy began releasing some songs with the name DeBarge featuring El DeBarge, promoting El as the group's leader. After their performance of You Wear It Well and Rhythm on The Facts of Life, El DeBarge left the group to begin a solo career. His last solo album came in 1984, which was titled Heart, Mind, and Soul, produced by Babyface. DeBarge's brother Bobby died of AIDS resulting from his heroin use in 1985, and DeBarge was really never the same after that death. El has been married and divorced 3 times. He's the father of 12 children from his marriages and relationships. DeBarge also has a history of drug addiction, beginning when he became addicted to prescription meds for migraines. His addiction resulted in several brushes with the law over the years.
And Mark, our last guest star is Tomas Milan as General Octavio Arroyo. Tomas was born March 3rd, 1933 in Havana, Cuban, and is a Cuban actor. His father was arrested and later committed suicide after Fulgencio Batista took power of the country. Milan later left Cuba to emigrate to the United States, where he became an American citizen and began studying acting at the New York City Actors Studio. After making his American TV debut in Decoy and The Millionaire, Milan relocated to Italy in 1959, where he made dozens of Italian movie appearances, mostly in the spaghetti western genre. He made his American movie debut in 1965's The Agony and Ecstasy. His next American movie appearance was in 1971's Last Movie. Other TV roles include The Equalizer, L.A. Law, Murder, She Wrote, and Law and Order. His final movie appearance, 2014's Fugly. Milan married Margarita Rita Valetti in 1964 until her death, and they have 1 son. Milan died on March 22nd, 2017 in Miami from a stroke.
And rounding out our co-stars, we have Marcella Braswell as Annie, Celia de Muño as Mrs. Sanchez, Gustavo Rojas as chauffeur, Alejo Menendez as businessman 1, Moby Griffin as businessman number 2, and Don Cornell as Slocum.
Mark, it's time for the goofs, fun facts, and locations. Here we have a multiple episode storyline. And there's Gina's line to Crockett. "You've got a hell of a short memory, Sonny," refers to her experiences in the episode Give a Little, Take a Little. While she wasn't raped in the same manner as Odette, she was forced into sex with Lupo Ramirez to maintain her cover.
We have a location here, 820 Northwest 21st Terrace. That's the opening drug deal and where the Bugbuster van was stolen.
Our first fun fact is Jeffrey Howard, the art director for Miami Vice, makes an appearance as the informant who reveals to the Vice crew that it was sweetener and not cocaine that was being purchased.
Another location here, 1215 Meridian Avenue, Miami Beach, and that is Gina's apartment.
And our final fun fact, it is implied Izzy showed Manny a Steve McQueen movie before the meet at the beginning of this episode, most likely the Thomas Crown Affair, given his comments about having a flashlight shown in his face.
And let's check out some music in this episode. First up, we have Bass in Trouble by Sly and Robbie. That's when Arroyo was swimming at his house. You Wear It Well by El DeBarge, performed live in the club. Rhythm of the Night, performed by DeBarge, live in the club. I'm So Afraid by Fleetwood Mac. That's when Odette was returning the dress to Gina's place. And finally, Cold Wind Blows by Carla Bonoff. That's when Gina discovers Odette's body.
And Mark, the Jan Hammer music in this episode was Chase, when Crockett pursues Arroyo's Countach in his Daytona.
Okay, let's go over the trivia portion for this episode, Tim. Last episode, we asked, during the opening scene of Bushido, Crockett and Tubbs were conducting surveillance from a building across from a public bathroom at the beach. What was the name of that building they were in? And we have Tom G again saying the Winter Haven Hotel and Apartments. Tim, what do we have this episode?
For this show's trivia question is, after Arroyo was first booked and then released, what does Crockett say Arroyo smells like? You can post your answers on this episode's Facebook post, or you can email us at miamivice@duck.com.
All right, let's start the discussion portion of this episode, Tim. First up, we've got Gina running errands and then a stakeout. As the episode opens up, Gina's doing errands in preparation for a big date. And then Gina engages a young Haitian woman, later identified as Odette, in the store, and pretty much asks her to do grocery shopping for her and bring it to her house. Gina wants to make some sort of a meal here. Odette is her, I guess, housekeeper. So she gives her a list and has her do some shopping. The scene shifts to an OCB stakeout where a confidential informant is inside a warehouse for a drug buy. Everyone's on their, earpieces. Crockett tells Tubbs that he is this guy who's beholden to OCB already and needs to come through. Otherwise, he's going to be doing $1.50 in the big house. So the informant here kind of owes them for something. Izzy and Manny arrive to make this deal, and you would think, just by looks of it, like it's actual drug deal. So let's go along and figure something out here. This confidential informant gives the code phrase for OCB and the Vice team to move in, saying, "Sure is hot in here." Boy, that's not really sticking out like a sore thumb. As the Vice team moves in, Izzy and Manny beat feet. And when the dust clears, literally, from all this powder flying all over, Crockett and Tubbs learn that it was a bum tip. And the guys they're arresting were buying actual artificial sweetener that Izzy ripped off. These guys that were buying it were store owners or restaurant owners or something here, and they're buying powdered sugar. Essentially, it looks like, it definitely looked like cocaine, and Izzy did his, taking the knife and cutting open the bag and testing it, and it's really sweet. This is real good stuff. The informant tells Crockett and Tubbs that the name of the dealer, quote unquote, was named Izzy. So Crockett and Tubbs pretty much look at each other with that figures smirk on their faces. Crockett laughs this off. Outside, as everyone's inside, Izzy took the Bugbuster van. Izzy's in trouble here.
Yes, and when the episode first started and they were talking about there's a CI that's inside, I thought it was Izzy that was working for them. Didn't realize until after literally the artificial sweetener dust cleared that it was somebody else. So that was pretty cool, because we're used to Izzy being their man, doing things for them. It was easy to, it was one thing that just threw this episode in emotion and threw it off balance just for a couple minutes.
Mm-hmm. And maybe Izzy maybe they made Izzy mad for some reason and he didn't tell him about this or something like that. But one thing I thought that was odd, this informant already knew it was Sweetener, didn't he? Didn't he say something along like, this is Sweetener or something like that before the Vice team moved in? And if
well,
he was,
what though? Actually, it was a bum. He thought he was going for a cocaine deal, and obviously, once he met with these store owners, he found out what they really were buying.
Right.
So that's when it became the bum tip. But there was no way because he was already inside. I don't know why he just wouldn't have backed out, but
exactly,
he's facing $1.50, so he's just going to go for it.
Make it look like a bust. And okay, I was going to say, why didn't he just say, hey man, it's hot in here, I got to go get something out of my car or something, and tell the Vice crew? But it wouldn't be Miami Vice if it didn't happen like that, right?
It would have been a nice comedic relief.
Exactly. Well, it kind of was.
Right. So now we move on to where Odette is seen bringing Gina the grocery store house. Gina is not there as she's probably on this bus or doing other things. As a gift, Gina left her address that was hanging, I think, on a refrigerator or on a door. And then an unidentified subject comes in, later identified in episode as Nick Arroyo or Nico Arroyo, enters with a switchblade, and he roughs up and rapes Odette. But it was definitely obvious at this point that she knew who he was just by the conversation that they had. At OCB, Gina receives a phone call from her date saying that he's canceling, and she offers Crockett the dinner. So as Crockett and Gina arrive at her place, they find Odette lying on a couch. Crockett had noticed that Arroyo had left quickly as they arrived. He didn't know his name, but he saw somebody leaving really quick. So just using his good police work, he gets in the Daytona, he chases that white Lambo, pulls him down on a causeway, and arrests him for rape.
Out! Get out! Keep your hands where I can see them, pal.
Easy, man.
Get on that car.
Easy.
Get on that car. Get on there!
It's $100,000 worth of machine. Don't scratch it. What's the charge?
Pick one, buddy. Resisting arrest, reckless driving, or rape.
Rape?
That's right, pal. Rape.
Look at me, amigo. I'm rich. I'm beautiful. The finest senoritas in Miami beg me for it. Why would I rape?
I'm not your shrink.
Not a lot here to go on other than instinct, so we'll see how that develops.
I like at the beginning here when Gina receives the phone call, that the date's canceled, and offers Crockett the dinner. I thought there was like a glimmer in their eyes, or I should say her eyes, that, okay, I'll offer Crockett dinner. Maybe they were going to get their romance back going here.
It's possible, yeah.
It had
definitely
that
was. It had that moment, yep.
Right. And this chase was a pretty good chase. If you noticed, going along, every back shot we had of the Countach, they were different models. You could tell by the taillights. There were two different models of Countaches.
You are a Lamborghini aficionado?
I love them. So moving along to the hospital where Odette is at, Gina and Trudy are there to get more details of the assault from Odette. Crockett calls Gina and tells her that he's arrested the rapist, Arroyo. Gina tells Crockett that Odette has described the perp as a gringo, not Hispanic. I think she said he had blonde hair or something like that, or blonde wavy hair.
Yes.
Throwing off Arroyo. Arroyo is released, and he asks Crockett for an apology for the wrongful arrest, which is not yet, but he gets some words of wisdom on his cologne, which is our trivia question.
Yes,
and
I believe what Sonny said. He said, "You owe me an apology. I don't owe you spit."
So now we're at Gina's place. The Vice team's president when CSI is collecting evidence when Crockett walks in to announce that the perp was indeed Nick Arroyo, the son of an ousted Bolivian general, now living in Key Biscayne. While at Gina's place here, they're collecting all their evidence. The evidence tech said that the perp left a lot of evidence behind, a lot of fingerprints. If you remember, he was on the pink fridge when the cat was on top. He left his fingerprints there. And the dress was there that Gina gave Odette. Well, as they were putting that in the bag, I think it was it Switek or Tubbs said, whew, man, smell this thing. Crockett goes up and smells it, and he's like, that's Arroyo's cologne. Going back to Arroyo was released after the arrest, Crockett had something to say about his cologne. So Crockett knew it was Arroyo all over her, all over this dress, just by the cologne.
The guy really made himself at home here. Left behind a ton of trace evidence and some really good palm prints.
Get this down to the lab as fast as you can. This one's special.
What's this Arroyo kid like?
If being a punk was a felony, I could put him away for life.
Smell this. Reeks, huh? She must bathe in cologne. It's a men's cologne. Really? Yeah. It's called Golden Warrior, man. Hey, I'll buy you some for your birthday. On your salary, Switek? We're talking about $70 an ounce, buddy.
More like 100.
Huh?
Right.
So now as we move to Odette's place, Tim, you could cover that section.
Right. And that's where Gina's basically staying with her, consoling her. And Crockett, he came in and then he pulls her aside and he says, you know what? She's lying because the cologne that Nick wears is all over the dress that Gina gave her. And then it turns out that Odette had worked at General Arroyo's home and talked about her time there. She admits that Nick raped her but refused to file charges for fear of being deported. But Gina promised to protect her. And one thing is that that's another lie on her part, as we will see later on, saying that she worked at the Arroyo home when in fact she still does. So now we're at the, Gina and Trudy, I don't know if you want to call it stalking or whatever, they follow Nick home and make the arrest as Odette has now filed charges.
Hold it right there. Police officer.
Get away from me.
Go ahead. Give me an excuse.
Easy. No problem.
Well, there's a problem, all right. The little girl, you raped her in my apartment. Gina, I got him. Gina.
Then we shift to OCB where Gina learns that Nick was already out on bail, before the dust could settle or the ink could dry on the paperwork. However, all evidence collected at the crime scene points to his guilt. But then Castillo calls Gina and Trudy into his office and tells Gina that the DA thinks the evidence is irrelevant as Odette actually works in the Arroyo home. So there could be contact, whatever in there, who knows? She could splash the cologne on herself or whatever. Marty says that the main issue is that Nick never actually left a mark on her body, and it would then become a he said, she said type of thing. Gina vows to get corroborating evidence as another maid in the home was also raped by Nick. Castillo, while giving his infamous stare, said it was a long shot but agreed to get the DA to file charges on the condition that Gina turned something up.
I like this part. This is kind of going along with when Crockett and Tubbs get called in the office, and then the rug kind of gets pulled out from under them. They kind of, get up in Castillo's face, on whatever the issue is. Well, now here is Gina's turn to do this, and Castillo's given that stare. Well, not really at them because Castillo really doesn't stare at people. He just stares down or whatever. Mm-hmm. Gina wasn't going to give up on this. She's like, nope. I'm going to go after this. I'm going to do this. And finally, Castillo's like, okay. He knows his crew. He knows how they work. He knows over the past season and a half here almost that they get stuff done. And it's not just, I'm on hunches. So
he trusts their instincts now.
Exactly. So now we move along to the Arroyo home. Nick is swimming and he's summoned to see the general. So he goes up, and right away, General Daddy gives him literally a smackdown for raping Odette. The general here, he's flying under the radar and doesn't want his kids to bring attention to himself. Nick says it's a minor matter, nothing, no big deal. But the general obviously didn't see it that way. He wants it super clean. He tells Nick to stay away from Odette, and he's hopefully going to clean up this matter. And Tim, I'm thinking right away, Golden Triangle.
Right. And
Don't do nothing wrong. Don't pull attention to yourself. Be above board. Mm-hmm. Get that stupid horn off of your Ferrari, right?
And the young kids still went along with it. And if you remember, the general also said to him, you could have any one of the most beautiful women that live here or just visit this property, but you have to go after the maids.
Right.
That's what ticked him off.
Meanwhile, we're at OCB. Gina and Trudy are getting the name of the other maid that was raped, Nellie Guerrero. Tubbs pops in and tells Zito and Switek that the Bugbuster van is in front of Club Fatale. And we get this stare here from Zito and Switek.
I just got a call from the owner of Club Fatale about your bug van. This is parked in front of his place.
Maybe we can kill two birds with one, Izzy.
Your partner looks kind of intense today.
Yeah, I haven't seen him act like that since '83, when he chased the guy who swiped a hubcap from the bug van.
We already had the scene where I asked, what's this all about? And you say, shut up, we ask the questions.
I don't know. Did we, Larry?
Guerrero.
Oh, yeah. Guerrero. There's this little girl, Nellie Guerrero. She's about 19, Salvadoran. She used to work for this family, Aurora. Find her.
Sure, Nellie Arroyo used to work for the Guerreros. Yeah, I used to, date her cousin. Yeah, I used to hang out with all the Arroyos. Mrs. Arroyo, Mr. Louis, Loopy.
But you finish loading.
Finish loading.
Finish loading. Yes, of course. All right, let's go. Oh, Manny, come on. Hello. Come on, let's go.
So they go there and press Izzy to find more information about Nellie in exchange for staying out of jail. And in the background, you could see Manny carting up the giant bug that was on the van, and you see all this surveillance equipment around. So I guess he was going to fence all this stuff.
Oh, yeah. They stripped it.
Izzy was also told to put the stripped Bugbuster van back together. I wonder if thing was out back on cinder blocks with no tires.
I wouldn't doubt it. I would not doubt it. As we move along, Nick shows up at Odette's place, but he finds Gina there running interference, being a protection detail, and he and Gina start exchanging unpleasantries as Nick says that Odette wanted it. There was no rape. Then we go to a nightclub, and that's where you found El DeBarge being the lead singer there, the main act. And really, OCB gang took Odette out for a night of dancing, try to get her calmed down, get everything off her mind. Izzy shows up at the club and reports that he cannot find Nellie Guerrero. During a conversation with Crockett and Tubbs and Gina, as they were sitting at a table while taking a break from dancing, Odette shows them a picture of her family, which included sisters and her mom. She says that she sends $50 a week home to her mom. Her mom was not pleased that she came to America, even though she's trying to make money to send it home for their day-to-day living.
I wish my sisters could see me tonight.
You got sisters? Are they all as pretty as you?
I have pictures. This is Sarah. And this is the youngest, Juanita. Only 12, but she already looks like a movie star.
Gorgeous.
That must be Mom, huh?
She's wonderful. But she's had a hard, poor life in Haiti. I send her $50 every week, but she's never been happy about my being here. She's afraid something bad will happen to me.
Odette? Hey, Odette, they're playing our song. Let's dance.
I'm gonna nail Arroyo.
Now we're at the airport. a limo picks up Odette's mom. She's coming into town. They pick her up at the airport and takes her to the Arroyo home. Odette's mom meets with the general. You could see her giving some money. And this is a whole kind of a montage of, there's no words. It's just a montage with some music.
Yep.
Where you could see the anguish in her mom's face. And then you see this wad of cash. So obviously the general's giving her cash to buy Odette's silence through the mother. Give the mom some money, more than what Odette can give. And then mom will put the lien on Odette to drop the charges. Odette finally arrives home to reunite with her mom. And then at OCB here, Crockett tells Gina that, dun, 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 Odette dropped the charges, saying it was all a misunderstanding. So obviously mom had the talk with Odette here. Crockett related that Odette's mom obviously was with her when she recanted her statement. So here we go. Her silence was bought and paid for from the general. Gina goes to Odette's place to find Arroyo's lawyer dropping her off back home. Gina was obviously livid at Odette on all of this, but it was told that her mom was put back on the plane to Haiti with 10 G's. Grab the money, get out of town. Odette drops the charges. Cut and dry, right? Odette kind of implied well, I don't want to say implied, but she said the price was worth her mom's comfort.
She said that outright.
This money is worth my mom's comfort. She doesn't have to worry about me. Everything's good. Odette, said she had no choice in this matter. And you could definitely tell Gina is livid.
You can't run away from this.
Gina, the limo belongs to Arroyo's lawyer. They just put her mother on a plane to Haiti, first class window seat.
I didn't take a penny for myself.
But your mother did.
My mother loves me. You want to know? It was $10,000.
Cheap.
How can you understand? Look at you. You have everything. You live like a rich girl with your nice home, your fine friend, and a closet full of beautiful clothes. $10,000 may not be much to you, but to my mother and sister, it's an entire life, food on the table every day, and a decent place to live.
And what about Arroyo? What he did to you? What he did to that other girl? Doesn't that matter?
I had no choice.
There's gotta be something we can do. We've got a bribe here.
Gina, what are you trying to prove?
I'm trying to do my job.
Your job ended when the girl dropped the charge.
Absolutely.
And if you remember, Odette was going back and when she says, you know what, you're a detective, you make all this money.
Right. Right.
$10,000 would go a long way for my mother and family's comfort type of thing. So then we're back at OCB where Gina's imploring Castillo that something more can be done. He said this case was over the moment she dropped the charges. Gina's still not pleased with that. Basically not wanting to take no for an answer. Crockett tries to calm her down. Gina says that Odette made the wrong decision. Then we see it flips over to Gina's house where Odette is leaving the dress she gave her outside Gina's door and then is walking home. As she's going to enter her home, she could not see Nick's Lamborghini parked around the side, and she enters to find him, basically lurking and waiting in the dark. Pulls the switchblade and he tells her that the 10K pays for her services. I don't think that was the general's intent, but this guy takes no for an answer. And I guess one of the things he said to Crockett early on is, I get what I want. And then it's just implied more than likely he once again raped her. Then back at the OCB, Gina tells Crockett that Odette returned the dress. And then Gina starts lamenting about pushing Odette to file her charges. And she just feels like she broke her promise to protect Odette. And then Gina just basically reconciled that if she was 18 like Odette is, she would have done the same thing. And Crockett said, maybe she'd like to hear that. So Gina leaves to go to Odette's home, and Mark, take it from here.
All right, so now we're at Odette's place. Gina arrives to find police and EMS already on the scene. Why she didn't hear us on the radio, I don't know. But anyway, Odette's roommate, Annie, hands Gina, as they're wheeling Odette out, a suicide note left by Odette. It talks about how she was bought and paid for by the $10,000. Obviously, Gina is beside herself here. You know, she probably thought Odette here was smarter than this. She could get her mom to return the money or something like that and get this guy, back in the pokey. But it wasn't to be. Gina goes to Nick's home and he's got more people there. A couple of them in the pool, a couple of ladies laying out on the chaise lounges. Looks like maybe some businessmen with him. She confronts Nick at his home where she blatantly accused him of celebrating the rape. And these people are looking at her like, what? But he was very nonchalant. He didn't care. She let him know that Odette committed suicide. Is this how you celebrate? Nick spins this by saying she killed herself when he did not profess to love her as she loved him, allegedly. And Gina told Nick that he hides behind his daddy, the general. Nick, and here we go, said he gets whatever he wants and that Gina would be his next conquest. But I could tell right away that Arroyo here was irked that she said out loud in front of all these other people, hey, you raped her. Now she's dead. How do you like that?
Right. And he applied earlier in the episode that maybe Gina would be, like you had already said right there, the next conquest. Mm-hmm. He was leering at her from the first time he saw her. And it was mostly when he found her on that protection detail for Odette.
Right. And going on to this next scene here, well, I'll let you handle, but was he, well, just go ahead, take this next one and I'll chime in my thoughts on it.
Okay. So as the episode is coming to a close, we see the teams all saying, hey, we're going to go out for Chinese. Somebody said, where's Gina at? She went home. Crockett calls to invite her, but she declines and says, I'm just going to stay home. While Gina is sleeping and her cat was with her, and I'm going to throw this out as a bonus trivia question. What color was the cat? While Gina's sleeping, Nick shows up, pulls out his infamous switchblade. Gina wakes up, sees him, grabs her gun, and draws down. Nick lunges at her, and she caps him, and there's the ending scene, freeze frame.
Freeze frame ending scene. Now, what I was going to talk about, did he come here to pounce on her, to, stick it to her, so-called, rape her? Or was he coming here in retaliation for her going to his house when he had people there saying, hey, you raped someone and now they're dead? Was he going to come and rape her, or was he going to come and kill her?
I think he was going to do both. I think he wanted to exert his power over her because basically she emasculated him in front of all his guys. So he wasn't going to take that. And he says, I'll show you. But I think he would have killed Gina at this point. Although he knows she's a cop, that would have been, he would have never got away with what he did. He did lunge at her with the knife, so that's why she took him out.
Daddy, if he did kill her, Daddy would have killed him for sure.
Mm-hmm.
He would have been shark food out in the Gulf.
And he died anyway.
Hola, guapa. I've come to give you what you want.
Okay, let's check out the ratings for this episode, Tim. IMDb gives this one a 7.9. Not too bad. Tim, I like this episode. I give it a thumbs up here. Easy plot line, which I thought would be about fake coke. At least that's what we're intended to think about. That would obviously, hopefully, turn into a really big buy, but it was not to be. Obviously, it didn't pan out. Having Izzy in that minor plot line really didn't lead to much, even though they asked him to find out about this other servant that got raped. He said he knew about the family in the main story itself, but that fell flat. Having him steal the Bugbuster van, I don't know why he would do that against, guys that he works with, and kind of depends on to move him along. Either way, I kind of thought that was disappointing in Izzy. They could have had something better. This essentially was a Gina-centered show, as she had some strong feelings about this assault since it involved someone she knew. She stood her ground, like I said before, like Tubbs and Crockett do, against Castillo in trying to work through this case, and then him agreeing with the DA about dropping it. She was more steadfast, maybe a little bit, than Crockett or Tubbs is against him sometimes. But either way, she stood her ground. Good for her. Long live the Bugbuster van. Thank God they found all their stuff. Tim?
Yes. Stripped down. Mark, my review is originally I was going to give this like a neutral, middle of the road, not a full thumbs up, but neutral because it just seemed like really easy episode. Nothing major earth shattering. But then as I sat to write this review, I changed it to a thumbs up because this entire episode carried the bought and paid for theme stemming from the confidential informant inside the alleged coke bus trying to avoid a $1.50 bit in the pen, to Izzy trying to avoid jail time when pressed to find the whereabouts of Nellie Guerrero, to Odette, who surrendered to Nico for the comfort of her family. And again, as you said, this episode focused more on Gina, which became a true first as she was mainly a support role in season 1, and now you're seeing it coming out. Trudy also had one earlier in this season where it was Trudy focused. So we're now, and Zito and Switek had their fun and fun and made for each other. So it's all, most of now, all the major characters have had episodes focusing on them. And Castillo had a couple. Overall, this plot line was really easy, no major twists or turns. It was just the OCB helping Gina bring down the rapist of Odette. We have arrived at Snurd's Chalkboard of Wisdom, where we hope to inspire, enlighten, or make you snicker a little. In both the world of Miami Vice and our current world at large, we encounter many challenges we work to overcome. In the interest of creating a family-friendly atmosphere through the show and on our social media, we would like to offer some parting thoughts. A simple quote, phrase, or words of encouragement, or funny quip to you, our listeners, because without you, our friends, we'd just be talking ourselves. And we say friends because that's what we consider all of you who follow our show and social media. This episode's wisdom is about the 21st anniversary of the September 11th attacks in America. They come from Stanley Pramnath, a survivor, when he said, "I still have the shoes I wore to work that day. The soles are melted and they're caked in ash. I keep them in a shoebox with the word deliverance written all around it. They're kind of like my ark, a reminder of God's presence and the life I owe to Him." We encourage everyone listening to be a positive force, not only in your life, but others as well. It's contagious and can make our world a better place.
And with that, we'd like to bring this episode of the Vice of Miami podcast to a close. If you like our show, and we really hope that you do, please help us spread the word. We can be found on Instagram and Facebook at Vice of Miami Podcast and Twitter at Podcast Vice. Please tell your friends, tell your coworkers, tell your mailman, tell the garbage man, tell the milkman. Are there still milkmen? I don't know. Post this and other episodes on your social media and tag us at Vice of Miami Podcast so we can see it. And if you can, please rate and review the show on Spotify, Apple, or whatever podcast platform you are using. This really helps us out. It only takes a few minutes, and it really would mean the world to us. It's listeners like you who make what we do worth it. Many thanks to the following people who've liked, commented, or reviewed our shows. On Instagram, we have Aurora Montero 6982, Blank 2747, Connie Burnett, and Corporate Meat says about Bushido, "This is such a great episode, sums up Castillo perfectly. The story he tells the kid is brilliant. He's almost like a great comic book hero as we learn he lives by the Bushido and is a bit of a Ronin."
On Facebook, we have Reed Dupriest, Brian Brawley, Jojo Jackson says about Bushido, man, when I first saw Castillo get stabbed in Bushido, I thought we were about to get a third lieutenant. Dan Durer says about Bushido, love this episode. Always loved any episode that went into Castillo's backstory. So until next time, we will see you on the Vice of Miami podcast show number 35 covering season 2, episode 10, Back in the World. Now beat it, punks!